Welcome to Bavarian Redline. In today's episode, we will be putting our cheap project E90 335i to the test. Thanks for watching.
So like Aaliyah said, in today's video, we're going to be testing our N54 first generation 2007 335. So those of you that aren't familiar with this car or maybe haven't seen it on the channel, this is the first generation E54 2007. It has a 3-liter twin turbo inline 6, and it was really BMW's first attempt at making a twin turbo version or even a turboed version of an inline 6, at least in a road car. They had kind of experimented with it in F1 and some of the racing scenes, but this was the first time that they put it in a production car. So it is not without its faults, but one of its strong suits is its numbers, especially for when it was released. So when the N54 335 was released, it was rated at 300 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque. Now, BMW is notorious, most of the Germans are, for underrating their power. So these motors really make a lot closer if you look around at the dynos and you kind of average it out to 280 horsepower at the wheels and 300 pound-feet of torque, which leads you to believe it's actually making significantly more power than what BMW said it was from the factory. So what we're going to be testing in today's video, if our 140,000 mile 335 with the N54 can still live up to its original performance claims. Now, Car and Driver published in an article in 2010 where they tested the first generation and then the 335S when it came out, what the 0 to 60 time was. So 2007 0 to 60 time from Car and Driver was 4.9 seconds. So we're gonna put this thing on a barge, obviously, and take it down to the Bahamas, because we're not going to test it on US soil, and we will test the 0 to 60 time and see how close we can get to that factory 4.9 second 0 to 60 time in our 140,000 mile cheap 335. Thank you so much for watching. So while we're driving over to our testing spot in the Caribbean, or should I say sailing over to our testing spot in the Caribbean, I want to talk a little bit about the 335 and the fact that, like I said, and I'll show a clip right now of where this car just covered a little bit more than 140,000 miles, and it runs amazingly well. So we'll see if it can actually make it through today's testing, doing a couple hard pulls without throwing any errors. If it does, obviously we'll show that so you guys can see. We're not going to clip something like that out. To collect the data for today's video, we're going to be using the drag racing accelerometer, which are highly accurate and kind of favored in this industry. So we'll be using that to post the results, and I'll put clips up with each run so you can see. We'll do 3 runs and we'll kind of see what the best of 3 runs is. So we'll go ahead and post those as we go. But let us get to the spot, we'll get set up, and we'll go ahead and shoot this thing and see how close to that factory 4.9 second 0 to 60 time we can get out of our old, tired 140,000 mile E90. All right, let's try run number 1 again. Not a very good result, but I guess we'll post that here after we get a couple more runs and see how close we can get to that 4.9 second. All right, let's see how we do on run 2. That is hard to believe. That is all the faster that we can get out of it. But completely stock, 140,000 miles. Usually they test with a 1-foot rollout, so I guess that's what it is. All right, so for this last run, I'm actually going to manually shift and see if I can catch 60 just before it shifts, because I'm losing so much time on that last shift to 3rd gear. So if I do it manually, hopefully I can get it just a hair faster and get at least a little bit closer to that factory time, because right now, as I'm sure you are not, I am not very impressed. So we'll see what we do on this last run. that kind of concludes the test. And if you would have asked me before we tested it, I probably would have told you I thought it was going to do somewhere in the 5.5 second range, but unfortunately it did absolutely horrible. But now we've got a good baseline. If we do any mods to the car, we can kind of see how that affects it and how much quicker it is after some different tests. Now, it is a hot day. I mean, it's 86 degrees and it's 80% humidity in Southwest Florida, so really not the best conditions to test the car. You probably could get it into the high 5 second range. But that being said, it probably has lost a little bit of power, whether it's from the turbos or wearing the motor, who knows, but it does have 140,000 miles on it. So I also think, and I think I mentioned this before, Car and Driver usually does test with a 1 foot rollout, which to me is total BS because that's not a real 0 to 60 time. But that 4.9 second time was probably with a rollout. So not really an accurate test, to tell you the truth. But if you're curious how fast a completely stock first generation 335 is from 0 to 60, at least in all-wheel drive form, now you know. It's a 6 second 0 to 60 car. So not too impressive, up there with like a new F-150 Raptor or something like that. Not the best time, but we hope to do some of these videos on some of the other cars, and as we do more to this car. So now that we're done shooting, I want to put up the time so you can compare. So I'm going to put up run time number 1 right now, and run time number 2, and then the third run time. Now this one a little bit different because this was shifting the car manually to see if I could keep it from needing to go into third. Problem is, with this automatic, it kind of automatically made it jump to third anyway, and it actually ended up in what I think was the slowest time. So there's the 3 times. There's what they compare to Car and Driver. Again, like I said, I think Car and Driver tests it with a 1 foot rollout, but you can see how fast an 07 335 is, at least to 60 miles an hour in completely stock form. Now granted, my car does have 140,000 miles, so it might not be the fastest time ever, but at least it should give you a good baseline, and us a good baseline as we do more mods. And thank you so much for watching. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please go subscribe. Say bye, Aaliyah.
Bye.